Howdy, boys and girls. Welcome back to the Carla and Crappy Show. We are down to the New Year's Six games. I say that in terms of what we're going to talk about on the show because we're in the middle. We're on Monday. Is today Monday? No, today's Tuesday.
Today's Tuesday. Yes.
Oh man, if I thought if I had a hard time figuring out what day it was before with being on strike and not working and everything. The holidays have just completely blown me out of the water.
Yeah.
So, Carla, I'm impressed that you at least know what day it is.
Only because I saw a whole bunch of people post today of the congratulations. No one has any idea what day it is. It's Tuesday.
Well, okay.
That's the only reason I know.
That would be helpful. That would have been helpful for me.
Blame social media.
So anyway, it's the Tuesday between Christmas and New Year's, and you guys know, I'm sure, when you hear this show, which will hopefully be tomorrow, this is the week. Everything happens this week. Obviously, not just the New Year's Six games that we're going to talk about, but this is the week where most of the games are coming. There have been a bunch already, and then we're going to kind of start there since the bowl season started on the 16th. There is a Gatorade bath for Texas State's head coach.
Nice.
Look, that game has been insane. So since the 16th, there have been a mess of games already. Carla, what games have stuck out for you so far?
Well, I joked after, for those of you that listen to Bowlapalooza and realized that I ducked out at the very end of that because I was not feeling well. I ended up spending the next day in bed with a dose of the stomach flu. And that was like crazy week for me, right? Like it's finals week and I lost a day and I had to move a final, blah, blah, blah. Like it was just, finals week ended up being a disaster. Let's just put it that way. And I texted you both, Crappy and AJ, during the week when bowl season kicked off, and I said, literally, bowl season is saving my life right now. And I wasn't joking about that. Like bowl season was doing exactly what it is meant to do. It is meaningless football that is just silly fun to watch and a nice escape from everything else that is happening in life. And it timed perfectly that it started right as I was finishing the finals week from hell. And so it was just kind of the perfect, like, yes, I can exhale a little bit now. Here we go. So there were three games that just like, I was like the epitome of what bowl season is. The first one, I might have been the only person watching this game out of the three of us. I'm not sure. But I caught the very end of Western Kentucky's 28-point comeback in the famous Toastery Bowl.
That was one I did not see.
It was a sight to behold. Now, I missed most of the comeback. When I came back, or when I turned on the game, Western was only down 7. I think. So the comeback was almost complete, but that game went into overtime and then Western wins that game in overtime. But the reason why that stood out to me was, one, the sheer look of just absolute shock from the fans of Old Dominion who were there, that had that whole fall apart. But then also because it was the famous Toastery Bowl, they were throwing toast on the field. And there were pictures of the Western players making toast angels.
I saw a video of a toast angel. That is a new goal for my life, to make a toast angel at some point.
To make a toast, it's spectacular. It was absolutely spectacular. If you come back from a 28-point deficit to win a bowl game, by all means, you deserve a toast angel. Although that kind of ties into Pop-Tarts, which is happening if this comes out on Wednesday. It's happening tonight. Don't miss the Pop-Tarts Bowl. It's tonight. If you haven't seen the trophy for that game, go Google it now. Stop what you're doing, hit pause, go Google the trophy for the Pop-Tarts Bowl. It is spectacular.
I want a toaster that looks like that.
Yeah, I would like a toaster that looks like that. It might actually rival the Land Grant Trophy. I would put it right up there with the Land Grant Trophy. So anyhow, but yeah, bowl season. Also on the stupid end of things, Appy State winning the Avocado Bowl in a literal monsoon. I don't know if I've ever seen a rain game that rainy. Ever. Other than maybe what was it? Was that there was a North Carolina game during a hurricane? at one point, like
there
2 or 3 years ago.
there was a Notre Dame at Clemson. That
Yes,
was
that's the game I'm
the
thinking of.
remnants of a hurricane, and just looked awful. Like almost like you couldn't breathe. It was raining so hard. There isn't enough
Yeah.
air around because there's so much rain. And yeah, the Avocado Bowl was absolutely like that. Although I would like to thank Appalachian State for beating Miami,
Beating
which
Miami. Yeah. Yeah.
I expressed my desire for that to happen.
That game wasn't all that entertaining to watch other than
Right.
watching the rain,
Mhm.
and how the teams handled that, because the game was just sloppy and mucky and not a lot of scoring and all that.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was just kind of one of those, like, yep, it's bowl season. And then finally, I must give a shout out to CUSA rival. Way to go get yourself a bowl win, Jacksonville State.
Yes.
First of all, thank you, NCAA, for putting Jacksonville State and Jimmy Madison in bowl games. You
Mhm.
did the right thing. Thank you. But Jacksonville State essentially beat Louisiana in a home game because that
Mhm.
game was in the Superdome. Rich Rod living his best life right now. I don't know. But yeah, Jacksonville State, congratulations for getting the CUSA a nice win. So those are my three like main highlights from what I've seen so far.
Okay. I had Jacksonville State. I did get to see that game. That was a fun matchup that ended in overtime, and you kind of you feel a little bit for Louisiana because Jacksonville State, that's not the only team that Jacksonville State did that to this year.
Yeah.
And you know, your Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns find out that they're going to a bowl game. Sweet, who are we going to play? Oh, there aren't enough 6-6 teams around. So here's I don't know what they were like. 8-3, 9-3, 8-4. I don't remember.
Something like that. Yeah, I don't remember exactly.
So here you get to play these guys. And that ended up in a loss. Obviously, I was pleased about the Myrtle Beach Bowl. My Bobcats found some offense. Backup quarterback Parker Navarro was pretty good. Backup tailback Ricky Hunt was fantastic. 100-yard rushing and 4 or 5 touchdowns. A lot of that was due to OU's defense, which had 5 takeaways on the day and gave the offense excellent field position over and over and over. We have thanked Appalachian State. I do pay attention to Big Ten teams, as I'm sure you do. You know, we want Big Ten to show out well during bowl season. Northwestern was not on my radar, like at all. And
Yeah.
in the game against Utah, I was like, yeah, well, yes, I will turn it on and watch. Certainly, there's no way that Northwestern is going to win this game. And then Northwestern defense was lights out. That was as good a defensive performance I've seen by a conference team for all season. Just as good as anything that Ohio State did or Penn State did or Michigan did in terms of defense. So that was a very cool surprise in the Vegas Bowl. Minnesota won earlier today on Tuesday, with the win over Bowling Green in the Quick Lane Bowl. If I understood that correctly, not counting the COVID year when there weren't interconference matchups, all those were canceled. This would be the first time in 16 years where a MAC team has not beaten a Big Ten team at least once. They mentioned in the broadcast today. And I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool, and it speaks to the Mid American Conference and what they are able to do, and perhaps it also speaks to the Big Ten and the Big Ten's getting better, regardless of what happened out west. And we just got a final score in the First Responders Bowl. That game is wrapped up now. It was confirmed by a couple sources on the internet, college football Twitter, that Texas State fans drank all of the beer that was available in SMU on their side of SMU Stadium in that bowl game. So they were going around to the side where the Rice fans were sitting and buying their beer because Rice fans are not as thirsty, smarter. I'm not sure what the answer would be, but they were their beer was going to was being purchased by Texas State fans as well. So
which bowl game ran out of beer? I saw that like one game ran out of beer like in the second quarter.
Oh, that's not well planned. That's
Yeah, and I
unfortunate.
don't remember which game it was now.
Hmm.
I'll have to go back and look that up.
Well, that's a point for that is a point to look up for sure. So there's more to come. We might as we wrap up for the week, we might talk about a couple games that we're looking forward to. That you mentioned the Pop Tart Bowl. Obviously, we have a few Bowlapalooza matchups still coming, which will very much help determine who's going to take home the Bowlapalooza of the Year award. But first, 6 games, all big ones. These are the traditional power big deal big boy bowl games. And they start on Friday, December 29th, which doubles as my mom's birthday. Pat Pound will turn
Nice.
85 on Friday. We will
Wow.
be in Columbus.
Happy birthday.
We will have an early dinner, and we will be home by 8 p.m. So we can turn on ESPN and the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic in Arlington, Texas, when number 9 Missouri faces number 7 Ohio State. The Buckeyes are favored by 1. The AJ Fun Index is respectable, I guess, for this matchup, 49.5 points. Carla, I will give you first crack at one of the big boy games. What do you see about this one?
Yeah, this one's super intriguing, and it might actually be one of the more intriguing undercards of all the New Year's Six, really, to kind of get things going here. Because let's be real, Missouri was like one of the biggest surprises this season.
Yes.
Nobody saw this coming from Missouri at the beginning of the year. Same way we were just like both stunned by Northwestern. I joked, I'd forgotten about that win. I joked in our text thread that like definitely didn't have Northwestern beating Utah on my 2023 bingo card this year, right?
Nope.
Like that was just not something that I anticipated. And having Mizzou in a New Year's Six bowl, definitely not something I had on my bingo card this year. And that's definitely a great deal of thanks to their super tandem. They've turned into a super tandem this year of quarterback Brady Cook, and of course the running back that I've just fallen completely in love with, Cody Schrader. Because he's just, like I said, he's this kid. He just gets the game. He understands it. He's just a like bull horse, just plowing through the line, but nimble and agile, and like he's just super fun to watch play football. Unless you're trying to defend him, sorry. And here's the thing. Yeah. And here's the thing. We know that both of them are playing in this game. They have both said that they are playing in this game. What we also now know is that Cal McCord is now in Syracuse.
And as we know from Syracuse's bowl game, the Orange need the help.
They do need help.
Clearly.
Yeah. And they've been hitting the portal pretty nicely, as they were talking about in that bowl game. They've pulled in a lot of people. Syracuse is going to be an interesting team next year just because of how they're kind of pulling people together. The other thing that we don't know for sure, and maybe you've got better sources than I do on this, is that Marv hasn't declared whether or not he's playing in this game, at least as of this morning. When I was looking up, do you know? Have you heard anything? Whether he's
the speculation is that he will not. He's not participating in practices.
Okay.
That is not to say that he couldn't just kind of step up and decide to play the game on Friday night. I would assume that the fact that he's not participating is going to mean that he's not playing. And that's the widely held perception.
I would be surprised if he would play. I mean, he's going to be an easy first rounder. So I would be surprised if he was going to play, but now knowing that he's not practicing, so okay, so you're not playing with the guy that's been your starting quarterback all season long.
Right.
Your team's leading receiver and the one weapon that was absolutely impossible to defend on the offense is gone. To have those two big pieces potentially missing, that's going to be a really big challenge for your Bucks here. Ohio State does have one of the top 25 rush defenses in the country. That's good. Is that going to be enough to slow down Cody Schrader? I don't know, because he's just that kind of running back, right? Like I think you can throw some speed bumps at him. It's going to be really tough to fully contain him. The Big Ten girl in me says, go Bucks. I don't feel good about that. Okay. I don't. This feels like there's too many questions right now in Ohio State with players sitting out and the offense just not fully being what, they're going to be kind of making it up as they go because it's a new team essentially playing offense. Mizzou's playing, like all their guys are going to be there. This feels like a Mizzou team that's trying to cap off an amazing run.
Yes.
I think this game's going to be really close. I think Mizzou wins.
Oh,
I think Mizzou wins.
boo.
I just, I know. I really want to pick. I really want to pick the Bucks, but when you lose your starting quarterback and your best receiver, like, I don't know. It's gonna be close, but I think Mizzou finds a way to win this. I'm sorry, but I'm rooting for you. I am.
Okay. Here is why you are wrong.
Okay.
No, and there are plenty of reasons to doubt Ohio State going into this game. Another loss to Michigan, you're shut out of the playoff. Key players, McCord is left for Syracuse. Marv's probably not going to play. Allow me to introduce you to two people. Number one is Devin Brown. Number two is Emeka Egbuka. You're probably a little more familiar with him. He will be the Buckeyes. They will be the Buckeyes' quarterback and lead receiver in this game. Egbuka would be the number one receiver in any other program in the country.
Yeah, that's true.
If he's not playing behind Marvin Harrison Jr. Brown, and this is interesting. Brown has pushed Kyle McCord all summer until the very end when Ryan gets down to the week before the opening game and Ryan Day says, okay, the starter is going to be Kyle McCord. He has a great arm. He's a lot more mobile than McCord was, which is maybe something that should have been considered sooner. I think it should. I don't know. And he has. This is an interesting thing. He has a kind of personality that the other players really gravitate to. Not. McCord was not that guy. McCord was vocal enough, but not super rah, not big personality. The guys really like Devin Brown, and I think we'll play hard for him. I don't see a ton of drop off on the offensive side, particularly with Travion Henderson, who was the reason that Ohio State finished as strongly as it did, was having him healthy and having a solid running game. He is not going anywhere, and he will be playing on Friday. The defense is still that defense. You mentioned top 25 against the run, giving up just 11 points per game. That's still second in the country. So even if Cody Schrader gets his 100 yards, that may not translate into the kind of points that Missouri wants to see. There is reason to be concerned, for a reason for me to be concerned. Missouri's had one of those seasons, man. Weird things happen and the ball bounces the right way and you're in games that you shouldn't be, and then you're winning games that you shouldn't, and suddenly you're 10-2 with losses only against Georgia and LSU, I think. Brady Cook has been solid. He's efficient. They don't ask him to do a ton, and part of that is because they have Cody Schrader, who leads the country with a 125 yard per game average. I can see your hesitation here, and perhaps it's my own kind of rose-colored glasses. Perhaps it's my comfort in knowing who the people are behind Kyle McCord and Marvin Harrison Jr. Carnell Tate is a true freshman wide receiver who's going to be really, really good. I didn't mention him before, but in a bowl game, I mean, we all, Marvin Harrison Jr. really stepped up in a bowl game a couple years ago. Jackson Smith and Jigba stepped up in a bowl game a year or two prior to that. This could be a similar platform for Carnell Tate to have a big game and wrap up the day with everyone understanding who he is and what Ohio State has in the pipeline. The Tigers lost the games that to teams. I don't want to say elite. Again, I'm not sure I would put Ohio State in that conversation. But to LSU and Georgia, they put up good fight in both games. But
Yeah.
I think that's the blueprint here. It is a talent level. It is facing a team that is experienced. Missouri hasn't won a bowl game for a while. I know I read that it's at least a decade. This game's going to make me uncomfortable. That I am fully aware. I will be expecting that on Friday. I will have had Manhattans and large glasses of red wine before when we're out to dinner for my mom's birthday. So I will be prepared for the discomfort. But Ohio State is going to win this game. And we will all be relieved in Columbus. On Saturday, December 30th, on noon, at noon on ESPN. All of these games are on ESPN, by the way. So I may just omit that part as we go through the introductions. The Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl in Atlanta. Number 11 Ole Miss versus number 10 Penn State. The Nittany Lions are favored by 3.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is 48.5. Carla, how are your Nittany Lions going to do?
Well, it's interesting. The first thing I want to say is how annoyed I am that this game is at noon.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. The schedule on Saturday sucks. Mm-hmm. And the reason why the schedule on Saturday sucks is because of the stinking NFL. Yes. Because they had to move the Monday night game to Saturday night because Monday night is the football college football playoff. Mm-hmm. And so there's no college football bowl game on the night of December 30th, and that is a travesty. There needs to be a bowl game.
Yes, I agree.
On the evening of the 30th.
And what the hell? Let's go up against the NFL. I would love to see. I would love to see what happens when you have an alumni base like Penn State has, which is one of the biggest in the massive is a good word. Going up against an NFL game. I would love to see what the ratings did. I would expect the NFL game to be rated higher, but I bet it's a lot closer than people would think. And maybe if you're talking about a school with a fan base like Penn State, Ohio State, Notre Dame, USC,
Notre Dame,
that's going to be that. Let's give the NFL a run for the money. But anyway.
Yeah. Anywho, I know, tangent. Just like we get off on the tangent of play the Big Ten title game in Soldier Field. Don't play the Peach Bowl at noon. Don't play the Peach Bowl at noon. Anyhow.
No.
Okay. So about the game, we all know about the prolific Ole Miss defense or offense, right? I mean, they average more than 450 yards per game. It's tempo. I'm not sure. I don't know if you'd call it like full on tempo, but like they pick up the pace depending on what's happening on the field. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of time elapses between snaps. And that's Kiffin. Like we've known that. We've known that's the way that Kiffin likes running his offense. And so we've seen this out of Ole Miss time and time again. This is the way that they play offense. Here's the thing though. If you check the numbers about Ole Miss's defense, yeah. Okay. So they're 60th in the country in total defense.
Oh, wait. That's 59th not good.
59th in pass defense. 71st in rush defense. So the key here for Penn State, as we saw both Georgia and Alabama do during this season, it's simple. Pressure Jackson Dart. Pressure Jackson Dart. Flood the offensive line. Force Dart into making mistakes, which he is prone to do when he is under duress. Then, hi there, new co-offensive coordinators, Jaquan Sider and Ty Howell. This is their last game to be co-offensive coordinators.
Right.
Run the damn football.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Run the damn football. You got two of the best running backs in the country in your backfield going up against the 71st rush defense in the country. Heavy doses of Nick Singleton and Katron Allen all the freaking time, right? Then give Drew Aller the okay to let loose a little bit because your run game's going to loosen up that defense, which isn't much to begin with, right? He's not likely going to get much pressure in the backfield, especially because Ole Miss defensive end Cedric Johnson, who is the team's sack leader, has opted out of this game because he's going to the draft.
Okay.
So without their number one sack leader, there shouldn't be a ton of pressure on Aller. Give him the reins to throw a couple deep balls here and there, instead of trying to do these like 5-yard screens, which we've seen have not been greatly successful.
Right.
Like, let's play the Penn State offense that we saw the last 2 games of the season. And I'm hoping that's true because those last 2 games of the season were when we had the co-offensive coordinators.
Right.
So stick with that game plan and you're gonna beat Ole Miss as long as your defense can keep Dart under wraps, because that's how Ole Miss plays. They throw the football, right? So if you can put enough pressure on that pass game, Penn State is going to win this football game. I too will be nervous, knowing when you're going up against those prolific offenses. It's your defense has to be on. Your defense has to be on, and we have seen defensive lapses from this team this year. See Northwestern, and so we can't have one of those situations where the defense decides to not start playing until the second quarter. Because if you let Ole Miss offense get going and they're up 2 scores, I don't know if Penn State has the guns to get back into the game if you're down 2 scores with how fast Ole Miss can score. I don't want to be down 14-0.
Okay. That's fair.
But if you can keep it within a score and things are going, I think the Penn State defense is going to wear down that offensive line and be able to take control of the game in the second half. Penn State wins in a game that probably makes me more nervous than it should.
Okay. The cliche unstoppable force, immovable object, the unstoppable force is Mississippi's offense. You touched on the yardage. They score 35 a game. There is an immovable object, Penn State's defense, which comes in just behind Ohio State in scoring defense, number 3 in the country. But here's the other thing. Penn State also scores. Penn State's offense is nothing to sneeze at. Actually averaged a few more points than the Rebels in points per game. The Lions scoring 37.2 a game. You would be expected to be concerned about Penn State's 2 very recent coordinator changes. The offensive coordinator you touched on during the season, Manny Diaz, of course, is moving on to Duke from the defensive coordinator spot at Penn State. I wouldn't expect that to change the defense, and it's already changed the offense for the better. I think that the last 2 games of the season for Penn State made that pretty clear. And here's the thing. If Ole Miss played in the Big Ten East, they'd be Maryland. Okay, yeah. They don't play defense. They score enough that they can be a pain. But they're not. That is not a team that could hang in the Big Ten East with the big boys. And that's borne out in their own conference. When they're playing a team that they should lose to, they do. So I see it's interesting, not ultimately threatening. Penn State wins this game, and I think in a more comfortable fashion than Carla you would be expecting. But anyway, I think you're gonna have a nice afternoon on Saturday at 4 p.m. the same day. Capital One Orange Bowl in Miami Gardens, Florida. Number 6 Georgia versus number 5 Florida State. The Bulldogs are favored by 16.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is a not so fun 44.5. But really, Carla, is anyone having fun involved with this game, or does anyone really want to be there?
Yeah, that's a good question. Is this the miserable bowl?
Yeah, right.
I mean, it is in Miami.
Miserable. Right? Miserable? It's the miserable.
Miserable.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah. Whatever.
I would like to apologize to everyone for what I just did. Miserable.
Well, I'd like to apologize to the bowl committee for making this a bowl game. Because I really, really want this to be a good football game, but I don't think it's going to be, right? Like, look, we all saw the ACC title game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Florida State has a hell of a defense.
Mm-hmm.
They play really, really, really good defense, but they could do jack squat offensively. I mean, thank God for the Florida State defense that gave them a couple turnovers that, they scored, I think, a defensive touchdown in that ACC title game. Yes. And their defense and their special teams scored more points than their offense did. Like, unless something drastic has changed in the last 3-ish weeks, I have no idea how Florida State is going to cross midfield against one of the best defenses in all of college football. I just don't, especially since the team's top 2 wide receivers, Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson, have both opted out of this game.
Yes.
Like, there's nobody left to play offense for Florida State. For Georgia, it's not much better. I mean, we don't know the status of Brock Bowers. He's healthy. He hasn't declared one way or another whether he's going to play in this game, but we do know that Carson Beck is playing because he's coming back. He's already announced that he's coming back to Georgia next year. And that might be all Georgia needs, to be perfectly honest, because I don't think they need Brock Bowers in this game. Brock, sit out. As long as they've got Carson Beck and can score maybe 21 points, like, Georgia's going to win. It's not going to be fun. The Orange Bowl should be at noon on Saturday. I'll say it. The Orange Bowl should be at noon on Saturday. The Peach Bowl should be the late game because this is the late game. This is going to be a Georgia route.
In terms of competitive, you're absolutely right. It is baffling that this would be the game that the bowl people would want to emphasize, but I was the thing that occurred to me was like, this game doesn't need football analysis quite as much as it needs a psychological exam. Does either team even want to play in this? Georgia is a huge disappointment losing to Alabama in the SEC title game, and they were number one all season, the presumptive national title game participant, 2-time defending champion. And then Florida State, they did everything right, but losing their quarterback, it just crushed whatever offense they had, and they had with Jordan Travis. That's a very good offense. Without it, it is not. I think the only thing you can do here is assess the teams as you would have during the season. There are question marks about Florida State and who they are and what they actually could be able to do in this game, as you pointed out. But I'm not sure, even with Jordan Travis, that this is a team that would have been able to play with Georgia. Without Jordan Travis, it's going to be a Georgia win, and it's not going to be close. We go to Monday. We have a one undercard game, and then the 2 that everyone wants to know about. At 1 p.m., would this be like 10 o'clock in the morning? In Glendale, 11 o'clock, 10. The Verbo Fiesta Bowl in Glendale, Arizona. Number 23 Liberty versus number 8 Oregon. The Ducks are favored by 17. The AJ Fun Index is a truly fun 67.5 points. 10 a.m. football. Carla, what do you think?
Watch the Rose Parade. Like seriously, can I LOL this game? Like, enjoy the trip out west, Liberty. It's gonna be a long morning. I don't know. Like, look, Liberty had a fantastic season. They didn't play anybody, and I can say that as somebody who is an active participant in CUSA football, right? Like, okay, you can argue New Mexico State because New Mexico State has a signature win. And yes, Liberty can put up a bunch of points offensively, but you know who else can do that?
Oregon.
Oregon.
A lot.
A lot. And even though the Ducks are going to be missing some key components who are opting out, right? Including Remington winner, center Jackson Powers Johnson. That is kind of a big deal. That he's not playing here. I mean, he shouldn't be playing. I get it. But one of their top wide receivers, Troy Franklin's not playing, and their cornerback, Kyrie Jackson, not playing. But I don't think it's going to matter here, because we've talked about this all season. What makes this Ducks team different from what we've seen out of Oregon in the past, it's not its offense. Right. It's its defense. Oregon plays legit defense. And as long as they can play a little bit of defense in this game, Liberty is going to be far, outmatched.
Mhm.
Because Liberty doesn't play defense well. If you go and look at all their scores, like you look at like Middle took them to the ropes,
Mhm.
and like Middle scored like 37 points on them, right? They're not going to be able to stop the Oregon offense, even without some of those key players not being there. Yeah, this is going to be Ducks all day in probably the most lopsided of any of the bowl games.
Okay. Okay. Liberty is a legit good team. Technically the best G5 team in the country. And that's never anything to sneeze at. But this game is going to highlight the difference in talent level between
Yep.
an elite G5 program and an elite Power 5 program. And it's also, by the way, going to serve as a way to scout Oregon, who easily could be favored to win their new conference, the Big Ten, next fall.
Yeah.
That's something that we will come to on New Year's Day. However, the Power 5 talent will overwhelm the Fightin' Falwells, and I think you're correct. The Ducks will win pretty easily. That late at afternoon at 5 p.m., the Rose Bowl game. I think the full title is the Rose Bowl game, brought to you by Prudential in Pasadena, California. Number 4 Alabama versus number 1 Michigan. Michigan is favored by 2 points. The AJ Fund Index is a painful 44.5. I'm calling this the Hate Bowl, not because they hate each other. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. It's just that I hate everything about it. Hate just everything, everything about it. But Carla, I will let you go first. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, so I get you on the hate thing. The other thing I hate is that these two teams, like the Rose Bowl, has been the site of some really spectacular bowl games the last like 4 to 5 seasons. It's easily one of the best games, playoff game or not, that we've seen in bowl season, for a number of years in a row now. I don't think this game is going to be that. It's just not going to live up to that expectation, right?
I don't think there's
I just
any
don't.
way. I don't think there's any
No,
way.
it's going to be low scoring. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, the fun index line tells us that, and like when you look at this on paper, like this is going to be a low scoring game. Michigan needs a couple of things offensively
Mhm.
in this game. They need for Blake Corum to be able to run the football,
Right.
and for JJ McCarthy to be mobile. When those two things happen, good things happen for Michigan.
Yes.
Right? Bama, not as good against the run as we're used to. They're ranked I was surprised by this. They were ranked number 30 in the nation in rush defense. That's
Okay.
not a Bama defense that we're
No.
used to, right? But as we saw in the SEC title game, the Tide defense can step up when it needs to.
Mhm.
Because in that game, it held Georgia to 78 yards on the ground. And that forced Georgia to be one-dimensional,
Mhm.
forcing Carson Beck to beat them through the air. If that Bama defense can make Michigan one-dimensional and force McCarthy to try to win the game offensively, can he do it?
Mhm.
Maybe. I don't know. He's not really been in that situation.
Right.
Where he's had to, because Corum has always been successful,
Mhm.
right? And so we don't know if McCarthy can win the game on his own without Corum. The one thing that I do know is that Bama is definitely capable of beating itself.
Yes.
We've seen that multiple times this season. Mistakes and miscues and penalties, they've all played a role in Alabama's season. Saban needs to have this team ready to play a clean game.
Mhm.
Jalen Milroe needs to stay poised in the pocket.
Mhm.
4th and 34 tells you all you need to know about Jalen Milroe.
Yep.
When he stays calm and poised in the pocket, he could do miraculous things. So here's where my head is. Bama played the tougher schedule between these two teams.
Mhm.
Michigan's only real test was Ohio State. And I
Mhm.
say that as a Penn State fan because Penn State game plan for that game just absolutely sucked,
Mhm.
right? It should have been 2 teams that they played that were good, but that's just not the way it played out. Michigan passed the Ohio State test, but is that enough here? When you look at how many good teams Bama beat to get into this spot,
Mhm.
I think Bama is capable of winning this game, and I think they win it in a tightly played, low-scoring game. The
Okay.
fun index feels right on this one. I think this game is like a 21-17, something.
Okay.
It's going to be a ground and pound, really kind of gritty kind of game, not what we're used to seeing in a Rose Bowl. I think Bama wins as
Okay.
long as they don't beat themselves.
Okay.
That's my only caveat. They play clean, Bama wins.
And you're exactly right. This did not, at the beginning of the season, we talked about this ad nauseum. This did not look like an Alabama team. The mistakes, penalties, a defense that was inconsistent at best. And at least at the season's outset, a quarterback who looked like a world beater and a bench warmer often in the same drive, right? Milroe was just not, and got benched during the early part of the season. Among the things I hate about this game, I give a lot of credit to Nick Saban for holding together this team. You and I spent a lot of time just kind of wondering, okay, when is the other shoe going to drop after the Texas loss? Who else is going to beat him? And we were somebody will, because this is not an Alabama team, and Saban has done a really nice coaching job holding everything together while the team worked out problems caused by inexperience. Michigan, you outlined who they are. They run the ball, they hit the tight end, they take a deep shot once in a while, and the defense keeps teams from scoring. They are number one in the country in that number. And that's the difference right there. Alabama spent the season getting good. Michigan, though, I guess you can still say untested at this point in the season. But Michigan was largely already there. And that's why I think Michigan is going to win this game and get through to the title game. The other semifinal at 8:45 p.m. from the All-State Sugar Bowl in New Orleans, Louisiana. Number 3 Texas versus number 2 Washington. Texas is favored by 4.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is a truly fun 63.5. This game should just be off the charts silly. I would not miss this game for any reason. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, and now for something completely different.
Exactly.
I mean, literally, like these two games are just on completely opposite ends of the spectrum here. So I dug into the stats a little bit here, and this actually surprised me. These two offenses are actually fairly comparable on paper. Michael Penix Jr. is obviously the more prolific quarterback between the two, but Quinn Ewers is right there. I mean, he's not that far off, really, from Penix's numbers. Right. He's having a heck of a season. He's having just a remarkable season. Same thing with the running backs. Dylan Johnson has 1,100 plus yards on the ground for the Huskies. Jonathan Brooks for the Horns is within 30 yards of him. So let's call that a push between those two teams.
Sure.
And I think what we're seeing in the line there is everybody's saying that the Texas defense is going to be the thing. And yes, on paper, that would seem to be the case because Texas has a top 25 total defense. But do you know which team is sitting at number 24 on that list? Texas is 25. Who's sitting at 24?
You're going to tell me Washington.
No, it's Oregon.
Okay.
Oregon. And who beat Oregon twice to get to the spot in the college football playoff?
Now I understand.
Yeah, that'd be Washington, right? So, and if you break that down even further, if you look at like the breakdown of the defense, guess where Texas ranks in pass defense?
Guess where Texas 18th.
That'd be 95th.
Oh, that's not good.
No,
and
that's not good.
Washington throws the ball a little bit, as I recall.
Washington throws the ball a little bit. Yeah, and so we're talking about this Texas defense, and if you just look at it at the surface level, I get where that argument is coming from. But like, I've picked against Washington twice when they've played air quote better defenses, and I've been wrong both times. I think I said this, and I wished I would have stuck my guns with it when we picked the Pac-12 title game. Washington feels like the team of destiny this year. They're going to find a way to win this football game, and I think it's the Texas secondary that's going to cost them here. This game's going to be silly fun. You're absolutely right there. Fun index spot on. It's going to be points on points on points. But I think Washington is going to find a way to get this done and find their way playing for a national title.
Okay.
That's just what this feels like to me.
Don't care that Texas is back, he said as he whacks his mouse off of his desk. I don't care that the Longhorns had the 13th best scoring defense in the country, or they scored 36 a game. I do care a little bit that Ohio State might have won a national title if Quinn Ewers had not left, but that is neither here nor there. Why I care about these things? It's because 2023 is Washington's year. Period. They are the team of destiny for this season, winning blowouts, beating rivals. They beat Oregon twice, as you said, eking out bizarre victories in tight games. Nothing has phased Michael Penix Jr. And his offense, and it shows. It shows. He does not always have a clean stat line. He's thrown 9 interceptions, but then he goes out and throws another 2 or 3 touchdowns. Just doesn't bug him at all. I get why the Texas is the favorite here. At first blush, the defensive numbers especially look impressive. But your breakdown was actually was the perfect way to look at this. When you step back, it's like, okay, maybe not quite as impressive. And even if it is, I don't care. The Huskies win this game, and they will play the Wolverines for the national title. And boys and girls, you can hear the Carla and Crappy Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, and a variety of other podcasting hosts. You can watch us on YouTube or the show's Facebook page. And again, as we've been reminding you for a while, you can read us now on our Substack. If you like us, please subscribe, rate, and review. If you don't, mind your own damn business. Be sure to come back. Well, I guess it would be next week. Sometime next week, maybe about this time next week, I don't know. We will come back and we will talk about the national championship game. So be sure to come back next week to see exactly how wrong we were about these games, because that's always fun. Carla, do you have any final thoughts?
Oh, I was just looking through the bowl schedule. If you happen to hear this on Wednesday, if the show is out on Wednesday, we got a really nice triple header happening tomorrow. The Military Bowl at 1:00. Yeah, sure, whatever. But we got the Duke's Mayo Bowl at 4:30, which is North Carolina, West Virginia. We've got the Holiday Bowl, which is Louisville, USC, happening at 8 Eastern on Fox.
Unranked USC.
Yeah. But that game should still be fun. Although I'm seeing a fun index on that game of 58, and that doesn't make a lot of sense, but whatever. But then at 9 Eastern on ESPN, so the Louisville USC games on Fox, we get Texas A&M, Oklahoma State in the Texas Bowl. That just sounds stupid. So like we got 3 really good games happening on Wednesday, and it just, Pop-Tarts is on Thursday. The Alamo Bowl, stay up for the Alamo Bowl. That game's always silly.
Yes.
That's Arizona, Oklahoma. That game's at 9:15 Eastern on Thursday. So yeah, there's still a lot of really good games happening for bowl season beyond the New Year's Six. So don't focus on the New Year's Six until we get there. That's my word of advice to everybody.
Yeah.
There's too many other good games. Don't ignore them. It's gonna be fun.
I think ESPN shows almost all of the remaining bowl games, so there isn't going to be a ton of overlap. You can sit down and watch most of these games uninterrupted. The Sun Bowl, for whatever reason, the Sun Bowl is still on CBS, and I don't know how that one works. And
the Holiday Bowl's on Fox.
Holiday Bowl's on Fox. Okay.
Holiday Bowl's on Fox. Yeah.
Good to know. There is the Tavern Furniture game, which I think it's off. There is television coverage.
That's on the CW.
It's on the CW. So
yes,
if you find your CW affiliate, you'll be able to watch that game if you wanted to do such a thing. I'm looking forward to the games that you mentioned. Just the closing out this week is going to be fantastic. We have the Bowlapalooza games. The remaining Bowlapalooza games are the Mayo, Pop Tarts, Alamo, and Sun, as I mentioned. So I will be keeping a special eye on those. But there's still a lot of great stuff coming. And guys, we tell you this every year. Watch, because it's almost over.
Yeah,
it's almost over. We have this weekend, and then we have the that one game on January 8th. But the number of games is dwindling. So watch now while you can. Before you know it, you'll be just like DVRing the Senior Bowl, and because that's all that's left. So
or being resigned to watch college basketball.
Yeah, there's college basketball. There's hockey. The Sunday football is, it does what it's gonna do. Kansas is up 20-7 with an extra point pending on UNLV in the Black Hole in Las Vegas.
Nice.
So that is a great start for the Jayhawks. Carla, thank you once again for not throwing up. We do appreciate that.
Yay! I made it through a show without the stomach flu. Hooray! That's just par for the course this year, I think. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, it's fine.
It was the most chaotic Bowlapalooza ever, and
it was.
Unfortunately, part of that was my doing.
Yeah, I feel bad that you had to be physically ill to add to it, but it seemed to fit with the tenor of the program. But anyway, I'm glad you're feeling better. And we get to watch these last few games, and then we will come back next week at some point and talk about the national championship game. Until then, cheers to you.
Cheers to you.
Wine. There's wine there. She's got to be feeling better.
There is wine. This is like the first time I've had wine or anything to drink for the show in like 8 weeks.
Okay.
Because I've had this stupid cold for So cheers, everybody.
Cheers,
and
everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy football. Watch it while you can, and we will be back here next week to take you guys through the national championship game. Until then, boys and girls, enjoy the games, and we will talk to you again soon. Cheers, everyone.